that I really wanted to talk to somebody else that it had happened to, and that I didn't know anybody else. I remember, being pregnant, and then, one day I went to the grocery store and my friend asked me, "Where's the baby?" And I didn't have one. So this all started in 2011, is when I became pregnant with my first child. I was 20 years old, and I knew nothing about being pregnant. I had never been pregnant before. So there I was, 20 years old. I was in college at the time, out of state from where I had lived before, and felt like I wanted to be around my family, so I moved back home. Eventually, my midwife said, "You know what? We can schedule you an ultrasound." So I go to the ultrasound, and it's in a separate facility. They're not really saying much when they're doing the ultrasound, and it made me nervous. And the fact that she had to consult someone else made me nervous. So it came down to them. So from this ultrasound, they end up telling me, "You have to go to a specialist hospital." They're like, "You don't have to go right now, but you'll have to go." And I remember thinking, "What do you mean I don't have to go right now? Like, I'm gonna go there right now. Like, I'm gonna leave from here and go there." So I go up to this hospital. It's a few hours away. A little over 2, I think it took us to get there. And I had been told that my daughter, and I was 26 weeks in a couple days, I think. And I was told that my daughter had fetal hydrops. And the way it was explained to me was that there was a buildup of fluid around her vital organs, like her heart and her brain. And that pretty much just her body was filled with a lot of fluid. They told me that they could give me steroids to make it so that if I did have the baby then, it would give her a better chance of her lungs being ready for the world. But I went from telling my midwife there was something wrong and that I needed to be seen, to getting an ultrasound, told I had to go to the specialist, and that night being asked by a doctor and the whole team if I wanted to do an emergency C-section or wait till the morning to see if my daughter still had a heartbeat. Kind of out of body. Like, at the time I remember feeling lost. I remember feeling overwhelmed, and that's an understatement, because there's all these people. Even to this day, if I see a doctor, or there's ever a doctor that brings in extra people, I'm always nervous, because whenever they bring in the team, I feel like it doesn't end well, or it's not what was planned. So I didn't know what to do. They gave me the shots for the steroids. I think it was in my butt. They gave me a shot in my, on the side. And I had decided that if God wanted me to have the baby, that she would still have a heartbeat in the morning. So I did not have the surgery. I was also told that if I did have the emergency C-section, that there was a very low chance of her surviving. Because, not only because she was only 26 weeks, maybe 27, but also because of the fluid built up around her organ. In the morning, that one of the nurses woke me up. It was around 7 something in the morning, and she said, "Are you ready to check for the heartbeat?" And I said, "I guess." So she brought in an ultrasound, and she couldn't find it. And it's almost like I was on the outside of my body looking at myself. And in a matter of just a day, It had gone from me, just not knowing what it's like to really be pregnant to my first daughter had died inside of me. And so now the doctor said that they would start Pitocin because I still had to have the baby. So they started Pitocin, and I could feel all the contractions. It was the worst pain. They tried to tell me, don't stand up. Your legs are numb. And I remember saying, no, they're not. And I stood right up because it hadn't worked. And I had a baby. She weighed a little over 2 pounds. After the baby was born, they let you hold the baby, and they take pictures of you with the baby. And it's been 8 years. Yesterday, my daughter would have been 8 years old. And normally when I tell people, if I tell anybody about it, I say, it's taken me a long time, at least now I can talk about it without crying. But, time heals all things. It was hard for me because they ended up telling me they didn't have an answer for me as to why she got hydrops. They had noticed that the baby had a 2-vessel umbilical cord. There's one going in for nutrients, and there's 2 that filter out waste. And my daughter, who we ended up naming Audrea Maria Jackson, Audrea only had 2 vessels. So one was giving her nutrients, but only one was taking the waste out. And that's the only thing I can really think of, is that if there's only one vessel bringing the waste back out, that maybe somehow the fluid built up. When I first found out there was a 2-vessel cord, they told me that normally there are no problems with that. But that was the only thing that they could find that stood out from this pregnancy that could have caused any problems, was that the baby had a 2-vessel umbilical cord. I know that I was looking for support when it happened to me, and I couldn't find any. There's like Facebook groups, but there's no groups that you can go and meet people, which I kind of wanted more than like Facebook and online groups. I wanted to be able to go and meet people and talk face to face. But I want anybody who's watching this that needs that support to know that they can reach out to me. Even if you don't want to tell me what happened to you, and you just want me to talk to you about what happened to me. Sometimes you just want to listen to somebody else's story. And I also want you guys to know that I did end up having a healthy pregnancy after I actually have 3 children now. So don't feel like just because that happens to you that you'll never have kids, which is something that I thought too. Jesus' face on it. It's rusted over the years, but I don't want to take it down. I think this was from my mom's house. Same with this. They might have been family members. I think this was my grandmother's, something like that. The star here was actually from my high school prom. The student council that set up the prom, this is what they gave out to everyone who attended the prom. It was a wooden star with gold glitter on it. So I wanted her to have that. And every time I come across a little angel, especially an angel with a baby, I bring it